What is an essential film, and why do we think they're essential? When you know it's a very important film, you maybe hear forever about The Searchers or She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, but unless somebody tells you this is a movie you got to see if you love movies.
And why? The context, it makes it such a richer experience.
Right.
And also, these are all movies that you should and can and want to see again and again.
Yeah, and they're
again.
accessible.
Will you please come to the center of the room? I have to make certain that you're not armed.
The Maltese Falcon is another great example of a remake being better than the original. There were two earlier versions of this, of course, and neither one of them very good.
Yeah.
And along comes John Huston, directing his first film, and makes what is like a definitive film noir.
It is amazing, and yet it owes so much to Dashiell Hammett. He wrote the novel. It came out in 1930, and you would think, with Peter Lorre, Sidney Greenstreet, and Elisha Cook Jr., you would think those roles had been written for them, and they weren't even making movies at that time. It's uncanny.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, that's part of it, is the great casting.
This was the first great Huston-Bogart film, which led to all these other great teamings.
That's right, and
Director
Bogart
and an
is a sort of alter ego, and he sort of brings out all the themes that we think of as native to Huston, the irony, the mockery, the mocking of greed.
Oh, after 17 years.
And what they ended up with was the perfect cast.
Well, one of the things I love, I think the dialogue is just fantastic in this film. And they love talking. That's one of the whole things. And there's this great scene when Bogart has just met Greenstreet, and they have this long sort of game of a conversation.
You're a close-mouthed man?
I like to talk.
I distrust a close-mouthed man. He generally picks the wrong time to talk and says the wrong things. Talking something you can't do judiciously unless you keep in practice. Now, sir, we'll talk if you like. I tell you right out, I'm a man who likes talking to a man who likes to talk.
And this is sort of characteristic of the whole thing. There's a lot of great patter. I mean, they play acting all the time. There's that scene when Bogart has been in talking to Greenstreet, and he throws this big tantrum. And you think he's just going out of his mind, and then he walks out of the hotel room, closes the door, and a big smile comes on his face. And so they appreciate each other's play acting in a way.
It's also a short movie.
Yeah.
You know, movies today go on so long. Everything's over 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes, 2 hours and 30 minutes or something. This tells its story in a very snappy amount of time.
Well, I think both Huston and Hammett were influenced by Hemingway. I mean, this is really not quite film noir. It's early, and the real film noirs come sort of later, the end of the war. And one of the characteristics is Hemingway tells everything through action and dialogue. There are nobody thinks. There are no interior monologues. Nobody's thinking about what they're doing. You don't get inside people. Everything is done verbally and through action.
Right.
And that's
we
one of the
also
things
have to pay a little homage here before we get into the movie of Mary Astor, who's so great as the leading
wonderful
lady.
Oh, I'm so tired. So tired of lying, making up lies, not knowing what is a lie and what's the truth. I wish.
And the same year, she also did the movie with Bette Davis, The Great Lie, and won the Academy Award for that as Best Supporting Actress. But I always thought that she got that award somewhat for the Maltese Falcon as well.
The Bridget O'Shaughnessy is one of the great dames of the film noir, and she's acting too.
Yeah.
I mean, she has this sort of prissy, pure demeanor, and Bogart calls her on it. He said, if you were as innocent as you pretend to be, we wouldn't get anywhere. You know?
Great film and one of the great sleeper hits of all time.
And so much fun.
Nobody saw this coming. Here it is, this week's Essential, the first movie in which Humphrey Bogart was directed by John Huston. From Warner Brothers in 1941, The Maltese Falcon.
Mary Astor is not a nice lady.
No, she's not.
She's committed murder. She's committed mayhem. She's lied all the way through.
All the way through.
But does she deserve that ending? He sends her up. And that's very rare.
Yeah, but I think she deserves to go up.
You do that?
Yes, it is. I mean, I think she's a menace. I wouldn't want to have Mary around.
No, but maybe she could just be locked up for life.
Yeah.
But it is unusual, though, to actually to send the person you love.
You know down deep in your heart that in spite of anything I've done, I love you.
I don't care who loves who. I won't play the sap for you. I won't walk in Thursby's, and I don't know how many other footsteps. You killed Miles, and you're going over for it.
Of course, this is a big theme in the Private Eye movie, that you don't want to be played for a sap.
She's one of my favorite actresses.
Me too,
I
and
must
she
say,
never had the career she should
No,
have.
but you know what? That's a great example, too, of going to the wrong studio, because
Uh-huh.
the year after she did this, she signed with MGM. They started casting her as Katherine Grayson's mother in Thousands Cheer, Judy Garland's mother in Meet Me in St. Louis, Elizabeth Taylor's mother in Cynthia.
Not good mothers either.
No, I mean, they were just kind of uninteresting
Generic.
mothers. Yeah. And, you know, she was too young to be playing mothers, unless they were really great, strong
Yeah.
parts. And I think she probably went because of the economics of it or something. They probably offered her a great amount of money, more than Warner Brothers. But if she'd stayed at Warner Brothers, say, she might have had a crack at a Mildred Pierce or those, because they had those parts for tough ladies,
For
like
tough
Barbara
ladies.
Stanwyck and Ida Lupino, Betty Davis, and others.
Well, I think she had this interesting mix in her persona. I mean, she was part sensualist and part... There was something slightly maternal about her. She wasn't just an ingenue. She never was quite an ingenue.
Really bright. You could tell she was
and
a bright
smart,
lady.
Smart. She was just too much for anybody to handle,
Yeah,
it seems.
certainly Humphrey Bogart. But time to move on. And I hope you'll be back with us again for next week's edition of The Essentials. Here's a preview. Betty Davis is a Southern belle who will do whatever it takes to have her own way with everyone, including the man she loves, Henry Fonda. George Brandt also stars in director William Wyler's 1938 drama, Jezebel. That's next Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And be sure to join us for our encore presentation of this week's movie tomorrow, Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. You can find out more on our website, tcm.com. Thanks for joining us for The Essentials.